Hello, this is Arun Budathuki reporting for the New Brunswick Media Co-op online at nbmediacoop.org. On January 24th, ACORN Canada, a tenants union for low and moderate income people, held a nationwide event against what the activists say are predatory lenders such as Easy Financial, Money Mart, and others. Demonstrators asked the feds to join the fight for fair banking by lowering the criminal rate of interest. The Criminal Code of Canada currently prohibits annual rates of interest exceeding 60%. The activists want to see that lowered to 30%. Demonstrations took place in Moncton and in other locations across the country. Peter Jongeneelen, co-chair of ACORN NB, states that bank deregulation has led to serious problems for low and middle income people. Here's what he has to say.
Yes, predatory lenders, Money Mart, Easy Financial, ones like Fairstone, they all exist. They do prey on people of low and moderate income. And it's a bad situation that people can get into. If you don't have a credit rating of like 600 or more, really the banks won't have anything really to do with you. It's like they will not give you loans. They won't even look at giving you overdraft protection on your bank accounts in a lot of cases. So it puts a lot of people who are low and moderate income into some very tight situations. The problem is that predatory lending is actually unregulated through the federal government. Bank deregulation has led to a whole host of different problems. Banks are basically abandoning like low and moderate income people. So ACORN Canada is trying to do something about that. Banks are closing down rurally, and people are having to look to these lenders as a form of emergency credit. You've got rising costs of food, gas, rents, you name it, everything is going up. But I mean, if you're a senior or somebody on a fixed income, really there's no safety net that is out there. So a lot of people will turn to these hoping that they can make those payments and get themselves kind of still be able to pay everything. But really, a lot of people are one emergency away from having to use these predatory lenders. The fact that they're unregulated and that they can set pretty much whatever they want as an interest rate and get away with this. It's basically, it's illegal loan sharking, I guess is the best way to put it.
You said this industry is unregulated. So why do they exist in the first place?
It is basically through the bank's deregulation. Banks don't offer anything that's low-cost credit options. They've started to introduce things like postal banking, which is a great option. If you live rurally, at least it gives you an option to go somewhere that would be like a physical bank to take out a loan. The biggest issue on this, though, is that there's not many postal banking outlets in Canada. There may be a couple in Nova Scotia. There's none in New Brunswick. There's some in BC, and I believe one or two in Ontario. But I mean, for something like this, the federal government doesn't seem to be looking at the bigger picture here and saying what happens when somebody is a senior or someone on a fixed income or low and moderate income for options. I mean, these are good options to do. And I mean, when you look at the situation, the government should be basically, it's great to introduce a program. But it's now time to kind of make sure that that is set up, postal banking in all cities. Postal banking would actually offer credit options basically on loans, at around 12 to 15%. So definitely it's something that is necessary. A lot of people in low and moderate income fall into like a debt trap. They're basically taking out a loan short term or something that's a little bit longer, trying to pay that off. But then you've got all the other bills, that kind of unexpected things that come along, rises to rent, rises to food costs. If you have a vehicle, and a lot of people who are living rurally really do need a vehicle to get around. So their car breaks down. They turn to these loans. Then they run into problems where they can't pay it off or can't pay it off quickly. Some of them, they get trapped into ones that are 3 to 5 years to pay it off. So there's nothing that's short term about it, because yes, they offer the low payments, but over a longer period of time, some of these, we're seeing interest rates at 60% or more for, say, a loan on $1,000. They could be looking at paying, $1,600, $1,700 by the time it's done. These loan companies also trick people into taking things that are not necessary, like insurance. There's early payment fees. There's a penalty, an actual fee for early payments. If you pay it off early, there may be a charge. If you miss a payment, then there's a late charge. All these extra little fees that kind of get thrown into that loan is really kind of detrimental. So I'd like to see something that would be like federally funded, like a fair credit benefit for low income people, just to have access to low cost credit options in emergency situations. It is definitely something that would be good and meaningful to introduce and helpful to a lot of people, getting them out of those debt traps. When people are not into debt, they can support small businesses, they can support communities a little bit better, because they're more financially secure, meaning that they have better buying power.
Right. So for low and moderate income people living in New Brunswick, what is the safety net for them, since they are out of the banking system and they also have to deal with private lenders? And you talked about postal banking. Would you say like postal banking would be the appropriate safety net for people in low and moderate income?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah. Postal banking is the safety net that needs to be in place. Right now, there really is not one on it. Even with the banks, the big 5 banks in Canada, all of them charge high NSF fees. $45, say you have monthly billings that are set up. So you send in a check or something to someone and you're $5 short on this. So you're getting charged $45. And then by the bank, first off, and then if the company that you sent the check to, for instance, has a late payment fee, that could be another $40 as well. So we're looking at the banks. They're making massive profits quarter over quarter. Every year they are grossing huge profits. They should use their funds basically to better implement things. So we'd like to see lower the NSF fees from the big banks from $45 down to $10. It's reasonable. It's easy to do. When they're grossing that they're making billions of dollars in profits, they're still going to make money out of a $10 NSF fee either way. But things like that, and really kind of, if these banks audit, basically our campaign is actually not saying to these private lenders that they can't make money. Yes, they can. But what we want to see is that they lower the interest rate on installment loans from astronomical fees like 60% down to 30%, or 20% plus the Bank of Canada rate, whichever is lower. So there's no excuse that the banks can say they cannot make money on this, and predatory lenders and these lending companies cannot say that they can't make money on this. I mean, at 30%, you're still going to make money. There's no getting around that, or even 20% plus the Bank of Canada rate. You get a credit card with the big 5 banks, you're looking at basically 21, 22%, 19.75% on a credit card. On a loan, you're looking at around maybe 15 to 20%. So I mean, it is doable. And these predatory lenders, they locate in neighborhoods that are specific, that they know that people of low and moderate income live, they locate there. Easy Financial actually totes on their website straight out without any, and they say it with pride, which is really disturbing, that 78% of their clients were given a loan when the bank said no. So that kind of speaks to itself. And it seems like they are targeting that. When you've applied for a loan online, our action actually was at Fairstone on Main Street here in Moncton. There, you go for a loan. And that you fill out the paperwork you fill out everything online, and then they would tell you whether or not you're approved or if you're pre-approved. What they'll do is sometimes say you're going for a loan for $1,000. They're actually saying, oh, we can give you $2,000, we can give you $3,000 or more, and you're approved. And here's your monthly fees. Here's your monthly payment schedule. And here's what you're approved for. But they do not tell you straight out on the screen what your actual interest charges are. Now, under the FCAC rules with the banks, you apply for, say, a credit card loan online. They have to tell you, what's the late fees? What's the other charges? What's the interest rate? Everything has to be put there online in plain language and make it clear and concise. You cannot go apply for a loan or a credit card online with the big five banks and skip past that screen. You have to agree that you understand what the interest rate is, what the fees are, before you move to the next screen to say, yes, I approve. Fairstone, nothing like that. They give you like a little interest calculator that's off to the side, and you have to basically do some math. So some people would not realize just how much interest there may be involved when they calculate in all the fees and everything like this. But that's the thing that we'd like to see is plain language, lower interest fees, make it upfront, and have some sort of a complaints process that actually works. Myself, years ago, I took out a loan at the time. Well, it's part of Easy Financial, was Easy Home. I was in a situation after a bankruptcy and a divorce. My credit rating, anyone who goes through a bankruptcy can tell you this, your credit rating goes right down almost to nothing. Mine was under 600%. I needed to get a laptop computer, and I also needed to get a couch and love seat. It was just one of those things with splitting everything up after a divorce, who gets what. I got a few things, but I did not have a really good couch and love seat. My kids were coming to visit me, this sort of thing. So I had the basics, but I didn't really have a really good living room set. So I said, okay, I need a computer to keep in touch with everything. I was looking for work, this sort of thing. And if you're looking for work, you need to have something that's a laptop that you can sign documents electronically, this sort of thing. Doesn't work with a tablet. So you need that. So I bought a laptop computer. And then a few weeks later, I went and got a couch and love seat. Everything was going along fine. Payments were being done. And it was all going good. I paid off the laptop really quickly. And they're like, yeah, it's all paid for. It's bought. It's paid for. It's all good. That's yours now. The only thing you owe is on a couch and love seat. I am partially sighted, so I did have to go in for an eye surgery. Didn't go quite as well as planned with the recovery. So I was off work for, originally it was going to be like 3 or 4 weeks, but it turned into 2 months. And so at that point, I did run behind on a couple of payments. Now, because I ran 2 payments behind on a couch and love seat, Easy Home actually turned off my laptop computer, put a block on the screen. So when you go to log in, it's right there, and it's just basically saying, yes, you owe money to us. It was the company name, the address, the phone number, and the name of the manager to call and saying, we need immediate payment. So when I called them, I was very surprised in saying that to them. I'm like, I have paid off this laptop computer. What do you mean? Well, you owe on a couch and love seat. But the two are not connected. They're two separate loans. I come to find out by contacting the FCAC that they're not federally regulated. So there wasn't anything there that was a complaints process. I did speak on basically a half-hour legal consult with a lawyer. And the lawyer had said, okay, so call the FCC. And I'm like, they're not federally regulated. Provincially, what do I do? And the lawyer's suggestion was simply to put together a letter, tell them that they need to unblock the computer. Otherwise, I would take them to civil court. He said, you can't write the ombudsman. I'm not even sure what the ombudsman would really do in this case, because it's not just a company that's in New Brunswick. It's all across Canada. Now, there is avenues. He goes, but really, I'm just going to be honest. I don't really know what other thing that they're going to do other than financially compensate you if they refuse to remove the block. But my advice, put in documents, take in something to them, and let them know if they do not unblock the computer, then yes, you would take legal action in the form of going to civil court. Easy Home actually said that there was a virus. This was a virus that was put on my computer. And I questioned them instantly on that. And I said, well, is there a data breach? Because if there's a data breach, I mean, you should be reaching out to all your clients and letting them know. They know there was nothing like that, and they knew it. After 3 days I took in the computer and left it there, right at their office, refused to basically pick it up until the block was removed. After 3 days, they did remove the block on it. But I mean, it was not a good experience. It was a nightmare to deal with. And as for them saying, oh, well, we'll improve your credit rating. Come to find out by contacting TransUnion, the only thing that was reported by Easy Home was 2 missed payments. So it affected my credit score. It didn't improve my credit score like I was told, because they were not reporting regular payments. If they had been reporting regular payments, which is something under FCAC rules, that banks do have to report this at least twice a year, then my credit score would have actually gone up. Even though I missed payments, it would have kind of evened itself out, so it wouldn't be such a hit. But no, I mean, I was just in disbelief that they could do this the way that they did, and that there's no real complaints process, nothing like this. So I mean, when you look at it, that's why we would call it predatory, because they're preying on people like myself, getting us into difficult situations like this, and then they're really not being held to account on it, because the government through deregulation has literally eliminated anything that would be accountability for these lenders.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, the private lenders have targeted Canadians, of course. Have you seen any trends of them, targeting maybe newcomers or immigrants, like who have no idea how interest rates work in Canada?
I've not seen those personally, but I'm sure that they are doing that. It's simply because a lot of people, when they do immigrate to Canada, they are living in the neighborhoods of low and moderate income. There is a lot of, I live in a low income neighborhood, and I see things arrive in the mail from Easy Financial all the time. Different lenders like that saying, oh yes, especially at things like the Christmas season, the holiday seasons, this sort of thing, and saying, oh, we can help, and it's all with a wink and promise, a wink and a smile, and saying, yeah, we'll help you out. But I mean, they're not really helping out on it. And yes, I mean, they would target new immigrants to the country just as much as they would target seniors, people of low income. So, I mean, the trend continues, and it doesn't seem like there's much on this. Trudeau actually, and the federal Liberal government did make a campaign promise that they're going to crack down on predatory lenders, which was good news for us, and that was in 2021 in the budget. So ACORN's been fighting on this campaign to get that moving along for quite some time now. There was a consultation that was launched in the spring of last year. We did actually meet with members of the finance department federally. It was all via Zoom, of course, but I was in on that as well. And as part of the consultation, we did put in recommendations early October through ACORN Canada on this. And the consultation ended at the end of October of 2022. And I mean, we're into January of 2023 with no announcements on where it's going, what they're going to do, if they're going to do anything. So really, these national actions that happened in Surrey, Toronto, Hamilton, London, Ontario, and here in Moncton, New Brunswick, was to draw attention to that and say, it's time for you to move and act on this campaign promise. You've done the consultation. Everything is concluded. So where is your report? What are you actually doing? And it's to hold Chrystia Freeland and Trudeau responsible and say, you need to take action on this, because every day that you delay is another person falling farther and farther behind on debt. And it's a debt trap, because people will take out a loan, they'll pay it off, then something will happen, they'll take out another loan, or they'll take out one loan and then have to take another loan product at a lower interest rate to try and pay off the first one. But they're always stuck in that endless cycle of debt, and they can't seem to get ahead, so they can't build their credit. So it just goes around and around with no stop unless something is done.
So high interest loans basically push people into endless cycle of debt.
Oh, most definitely.
Also messes up their credit, like you said. Have you seen other impacts of high interest loans on people living in New Brunswick?
Yeah, even when they're looking for things like a car loan, this sort of thing, if your credit is not good, you're just not going to be able to get that. So it's really kind of just leaving them stuck in this. And it is basically an unfair practice. I mean, if you can't get out of debt, then you can't get a car loan. You cannot save up to buy a house, these sort of things. So it's leaving them in that trap. And it's making them harder. It's making it harder and harder for them to be able to fully support themselves and be able to buy a house, be able to buy a car, be able to live in a better neighborhood. Things like this, and it's that the cycle's gotta work. I mean, we're not seeing huge rises to wages. We're not seeing that housing prices are falling. They're actually pretty much they're pretty much staying the same, or they're rising. So I mean, it's really kind of leaving people farther and farther behind, where really their financial stability is at risk permanently.
You said the federal government was going to do something. Have you seen any updates? And if no, what are the demands of ACORN on this particular issue?
Well, there's been no real updates other than the consultation was completed. So we're waiting those answers. And really, I mean, what we'd like is simply our demands, just to lower the interest rate on installment loans from 60% down to 30%, plus 20%, plus the Bank of Canada rate, whichever one is lower, of course. Include all the charges and the fees associated with a loan in the interest rate, because those are not currently inside the rate itself for the interest. Those are over and above. So if you have, say, a loan for 45%, and then you have insurance that's tacked on, that could become 60% really quickly. So it's kind of having all those fees rolled into one, so that that doesn't happen. And of course, create a federally funded fair credit benefit for low and moderate income people, just so they have access to low cost credit options in emergency situations. I mean, there's a death in the family. You have to travel. You may need a loan for that. You know, your car breaks down and you need to do necessary repairs. You may need an emergency loan for that. So those would be good options. And of course, the supporting of postal banking, expanding on postal banking. I cannot see why places like Grand Manan that does not have a bank. Scotiabank closed their location August of last year, and there's nothing there that is a traditional bank or somewhere that they can go. You've got fishermen out there that are seasonal fishermen that would go to somewhere like Scotiabank, try and get a loan. Yeah, they offer something online, but again, if your credit is not great, there's no options like that. Postal banking in a community like that would actually help those small businesses that are struggling with low cost options that are right there. They can basically do everything through the post office, and it would actually benefit Canada Post and rural delivery in that area, because that would make sure that there is a post office location in those rural areas as well. Because if they have postal banking and they have your regular post office right there, it kind of strengthens the need for that post office location to be there. So it would stay on that island. There would be more to it. It would strengthen what their offerings are. You know, and really the big banks, $45 NSF fees is just, you know, basically it's gouging. I mean, $10 NSF fee is sufficient. They still make money on it.
Mm-hmm. My last question for you is, under the Criminal Code of Canada, 60% plus annual rate is banned. So how do these private lenders function when there's a law in place federally?
That's just it. They're basically not under any federal regulations at all. They're only under provincial regulations, and those regulations, they vary province to province. What is here provincially in New Brunswick is not the same that would be in Quebec, for example, or Ontario. So province to province, certain things they can pretty much get around and do what they want, especially if the provincial regulations are not very strong. Like the complaints process for myself here in New Brunswick, there really is not one. There may be something that is on in Ontario or in Quebec, but I mean, it's not universal. So there's a lot of different things that these predatory lenders can do provincially where there's really not much done provincially. So, I mean, if it was done federally, and the complaints process was there through the FCAC, they would be held accountable, more accountable. There would be no loopholes for them to follow through. You know, so that's really kind of, it needs to be strengthened. Otherwise, you know, people are going to wind up in this endless cycle of debt that cannot be paid off. It hurts everyone. You know, it hurts small businesses. It hurts bigger businesses as well, because consumers, when they're stuck in this cycle of debt, even if they get a little bit of money, they still have to pay this off. So them getting something that's like a home mortgage, or buying some large items for their house, or even a car, they can't do it because these predatory lenders have been taking advantage of them so long. So, you know, no one of low and moderate income can ever go after buying a new car. You know, it's a used car at best, because they're kind of stuck because they have to pay this off. And I mean, you know, if this was in place with low cost options, they could be paid off quickly, and that would actually open the door for people to buy larger price items down the road. But I mean, when they're stuck in this cycle of debt, it's actually hurting businesses that, you know, could, you know, offer better products and better loans if they're federally mandated and federally regulated. But the bank deregulation that started with this, there does have to be something that's done on it, because these guys are making money. Money Mart, even itself, for a short-term loan, their interest, sure, it may be a loan that might be for like 2 to 3 weeks, but I mean, the interest rate for a year is sometimes around 400%. So it's crazy. I mean, they're literally making on, say, $1,000 loan for 2 weeks, they're making probably $10 a day, and then you've got a fee to get that opened. So they're definitely making money either way, and it's just basically saying, we're not saying that you cannot make money. It's just, do not gouge, don't be predatory. And I mean, we've got to get rid of the legal loan sharking that's here, because that's pretty much the only way to put it.
Thank you so much for your words today.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me on to speak with you today. I certainly appreciate it.
That was Peter Jongeneelen, co-chair of ACORN NB. Jongeneelen brought forward the possibility of postal banking to reduce people's dependence on private lenders. Postal banking exists in a number of countries around the world. It involves the use of the vast networks of postal operators to offer financial services to people who traditionally can't access banks. He also said ACORN is demanding the federal government lower the criminal rate of interest from 60 to 30%. The Federal Department of Finance provided an email statement to the NB Media Co-op. It said, too many lower and modest income Canadians are forced to rely on high interest short-term loans to make ends meet, leaving them in a cycle of debt. To address this, the government is committed to cracking down on predatory lenders. You can read the full statement with the article on our website at nbmediacoop.org, along with all our latest articles. For the NB Media Co-op, I'm Arun Burathoke.